Sorry. There we go. Helps turn it on. Well, good evening, everyone. It is good to have you here. We are grateful that you came out on such a lovely evening. That's just going to get better and better, right? Our bishop is actually excited about tonight and tomorrow, to let you know. I've been following her on Facebook. She's excited for what's about to happen. I say we send it all to her house. That's what I say. We are grateful that you're here in the fourth of our series, and we are grateful for two wonderful people who've come to join us tonight from the Village Resource Center. This is Lisa Maris, who is from St. Catherine's, and she is our board chair for the Village Resource Center board. And this is Sharon Stokes, who is from St. Peter's Lutheran, just down the street, and she is our board treasurer. One of the joys about having this group here, there's really two things. One is, this is one of our own ministries. Hope United Methodist Church, as you'll hear, was one of the churches that helped start Village Resource Center. And number two, of the 5 organizations we've invited to come speak, Village Resource Center is the one that is almost entirely run by volunteers. Both of these folks that you're going to hear tonight give all of their time for free because they feel they're passionate about this ministry and no other reason. And they want to help in our community. And both of these folks have just, in the short time I've been here, have become not just great partners in ministry, but friends. And so we are grateful that you are both here. We welcome you to Hope United Methodist Church. And with that, Lisa, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Pastor Jeff. I would love to start. Good evening, and thank you all for coming out tonight. Oh, hello. That scared me. Okay, good evening, and thank you all for coming out tonight. It's really impressive to see that you decided to come out in this weather, so I appreciate that. And I just wanted to say thank you for including us in your beautiful Lenten series. This is a great opportunity for us to tell you a little bit about Village Resource Center. And as Pastor Jeff mentioned, your support of this ministry has a long history. But I think that a lot of parishioners in your church, and mine included, and the others, I think a lot of us are in the dark about what VRC does. I'm sorry, it's so loud. Thank you, okay. Anyhow, so I'm glad that we could be here tonight to show you what a difference this organization makes and to see the potential it has to grow. As you mentioned, I'm Lisa, I'm the president of the board, and with me tonight is Sharon Stokes, our treasurer, who's known affectionately on our board as our anchor. She's been with Village Resource Center since its inception in 2014. Yeah, sorry. So I skipped, I think, the first slide. Oh, we don't have it up. Okay, great, thank you. So this is a list of our supporting churches, if you're curious. And then could we switch to, no. Yes, how we began, thank you. Okay, so back in 2014, 6 clergy members from churches in the Greenwood Village area decided to get together to have a group that they called themselves the Village Clergy. And they met to have fellowship and then also to share their trials with their own congregations, not personal things, but just what types of things do you run into when you're trying to lead a church. And one of those common issues that they recognized was that they really had a desire to help the people who came to their doors asking for help, people from the community. But they weren't sure, if I'm just handing out the money that our parishioners have donated to the church, are they making good use of it? Or is good being done? So they needed to have a way to figure that out. So this is how they came up with the Village Resource Center. They decided to pool their resources and appoint a board consisting of 6 clergy and 6 lay members, of which Sharon was one. They were to oversee the management and distribution of those funds with the help of a dedicated caseworker. This caseworker was to meet with potential recipients to discuss their needs and point them to other available resources in the area, along with the possibility of a financial assistance through Village Resource Center. Since that time, most of the churches have come under new leadership, and COVID took us all by surprise, and several caseworkers have come and gone. Can I have the next slide, please? And Sharon remained as the anchor that kept our boat afloat during these times when our center of gravity was changed. She is the one constant element remaining from the beginning of Village Resource Center, and she really deserves thanks for her dedication to our mission. Thank you. So speaking of our mission, if you could put the next slide up. Our mission is that we are faith communities working together to maintain stable housing for our community. Okay, also in attendance tonight, we have Mary Jane Harmony, who is our secretary, and she has been simply invaluable. Her ability to transcribe our meetings and reproduce them into something that's actually making sense is superhuman. So thank you, Mary Jane. And of course, we have the honor of having Pastor Jeff on our board as well. He brings wisdom and thoughtfulness, and frankly, a sense that everything's going to work for his good. Your parish is lucky to have him, and so are we. So I'm going to take a drink here real quick. So, as Moses said to God in the desert, "Lord, who am I? What am I doing here tonight?" I am not slow of speech, as Moses claimed to be. I have multiple notes here that say, "Slow down." But I fully understand his hesitancy to speak to a crowd. I'd like to say that I'm a retired stay-at-home mom. When my youngest went to college and my retirement began, I guess I just really missed telling people what to do. So I started looking for opportunities to use my time well. A few years ago, I started leading the outreach and evangelism ministry at my church. And along with that, they asked me to sit on the Village Resource Center's board. Just go, you listen once a month, no big deal. And I thought, great, because that's really all I have time for. I also sat on the board for the Covenant Cupboard Food Pantry, and so I felt like my plate was already kind of full. So the thing that I noticed, though, being involved with these 3 things, is they seem to sort of be this like really cool little triad. All of their missions intertwined in so many different ways that I felt like maybe this is something God put together. So I thought, well, I'm going to just be willing. Be willing. Sorry. So anyhow, so about a year and a half ago, the participation on our board really had dwindled down to less than a handful of people. And so when Reverend Lynn Creek from Hope United Methodist, she was our former president, and she came to me and asked if I would mind running the meetings, really because the other people on the board already had positions on the board, or on the executive board, so it wasn't that I was qualified, I was just available. So I thought it was an important thing that we were doing, and I really loved the people that I had met. So I prayed about it, and I thought I heard God tell me, I can do it, or I can handle it. I was soon to find out I misunderstood him. Apparently what he said was he can handle it. That's what he meant when he said I. So, but I was in for a struggle. And we have had a few struggles. Within a month of taking over the VRC board, our caseworker quit. I was a little thrown, but did feel a little bit of triumph when we found another and replaced her. Several months later, she quit. So it was the beginning of the holiday season, and despite having a metaphorically Thanksgiving-sized full plate, I now found myself acting as the temporary caseworker for VRC. Now, this is a job that Sharon had done many times before, and every time we had a change of caseworker, Sharon would step in. She never complained about it, which is, again, another reason that she is amazing. But I just wanted to give her a break. So I thought I'll take over doing that. This experience is when I realized one way that God equips his people, sometimes he throws them in the deep end. Or maybe I should say he lets us jump. It didn't take long in my role as caseworker to realize why the other caseworkers had seemed to be underperforming. They were actually just overworked. Back when Pastor Lynn was in charge, our board at the time decided we needed to update our practices, and wouldn't it be great if we had a website, and we can make it easy for ourselves. We'll put the application online. That was a mistake. Instead of extending our hand to those who sought our help, we were raising our hand to everyone who was searching the internet for assistance. Now, don't get me wrong. We should expand Village Resource Center. And we should expand our ability to help other community members. Denver has had the second biggest jump in rents since 2019 of any major city in the country. And it ranks first for how much rent gains have outstripped income gains. So the need is there. But at that time, we just weren't ready for that influx of applications. Here's an example of what I like to call the deep end. This is what it looked like in December. By the first week of December last year, we had received over 20 applications, and our application was still to remain open for 2 more weeks. Could I have the budget slide, please? As you can see here, our funds from the participating churches allow us to grant assistance of up to $2,400 per month. For context, the average rent in Denver is just under $1,700 a month. And that is 12% higher than the national average. At the maximum allotment of $600 per client, we're able to help as few as 4 individuals or families pay only part of their rent. In the first week of December, I already had 16 families that I was going to have to point to other resources because we would be denying them financial assistance from the VRC. So what are we doing with VRC to grow, to better meet the needs of our community? Over the past 3 months, we've been making changes to our website and procedures in order to build our base stronger so that our ministry can grow taller. I'd like to walk you through our updated website and how our process currently works. Could I have the next slide, please? This is the homepage of our new website. And if I could show you in live time, you would see that this scrolls and it tells you the next slide, the mission statement. And I'm sorry, I said next slide, but I didn't mean it. It says mission statement, and then there's a place to give. And they all have links then to point back to what I think is the most important part of our website is the resource center at the top tab. So if we could go to the next slide. This is where, this is the heading for it. That's actually Denver, which I was kind of excited to be able to get on there. And this is just the header of it, but then the next slide will show you that there's a list categorized by the type of help that people would need. This first is a list of general resources, which include like the county human service departments for each county of where people come from that come to see us, and then Society of St. Vincent de Paul, Jewish Family Services, among others, are groups that do all kinds of work. They have food assistance, rent assistance, or counseling, or that type of thing. So I put them under general. If we can go to the next slide. These are the types of categories that we have currently on our website. And I was mentioning when we were eating that I keep a list of resources on my phone, on my notes section, so that when I hear a new one, then I write it down right then so that I can go back and look at it later and see if it fits the people that come to see us, if it would be fitting for their needs. So we're going to consider this to be a living document, essentially. And that's the nice thing about it being on the website, is that we can always be adding and changing what's available on there. I will say that when I first came to the caseworker position and tried to go through the resources that we had, it was a box full of pamphlets, and I don't know if it was before the internet or what, but it was just all these pamphlets, and I started going through and tried to call these resources to get more information about them, to get updated pamphlets, and as it turned out, so many of them didn't exist anymore, or the phone number was wrong, or the contact person wasn't there anymore. So that's what's great about this website then, is that we can make those changes and update it. In fact, I'm not positive. Can you back up one slide? No, one more back. Yep. Oh, you can't see it on there, but there's at the top of that, there's also a last updated date. So every time we go on an update, we'll change to the last updated date so people know that these things are current. Okay, and then, so let's go to the next slide then. And here we have, sort of at the end of those other categories that are on there, we have a list of food pantries nearby, and if you'll notice, Covenant Cupboard Food Pantry's on there, and that is just up the street from us. And if you hit the link, so what you would notice if you were on the actual website is that all of those links, all of their websites that are underlined, is an actual hot link so that you can just click on that, and then would you click to the next page? And it would take you to Covenant Cupboard's website. So, and that's true for all of the resources that we have on the website. So it gives us the ability then to direct people to the website, and then they can look through what they think might be helpful. Okay, so then maybe the next slide. Okay, and then this is just the last page of our website that we've recently added the online donation button, so you can click right on there and make a donation. We are funded right now through the churches. They all have a budget of what they give to us each month, but again, that budget is meeting $2,400 a month. So what we're really hoping to do is to start to increase the number of donations that we receive from individuals so that we can grow that number and help more people. There's also the option to take a cash or check directly to your churches. Okay, and then just make sure, if that does ever happen, by the way, let people know they need to have VRC in the memo line. Okay? All right, so I think we can, no, you can leave that one there for a second. Okay. All right, so our next step beyond the website was to communicate with our participating churches and the Covenant Cupboard Food Pantry, which is also supported by the majority of our churches, that we were going to go back to our original model of being a central place to send requests that they receive. So here's how it works now. Let me take a drink real quick, sorry. This public speaking thing is very drying. Okay, our next step was to, I said that. As it works now, when someone comes to the churches with a need, the church will email the caseworker the contact information of the individual making the request. This acts as a referral of sorts, so that we know that it's come from one of our places that have been actively putting money into our fund. And then the caseworker sends an electronic application to the person in need. Then, when the completed application is received, interviews are scheduled on Fridays during the food pantry distribution hours over at Covenant DCC. If through the interview process we determine that their needs are not something that we can take on, they owe too much money, I don't know, for some reason they aren't eligible for us, right? Then we're gonna tell them right away. Because one of the things that we've done in the past is we've held them out until the end of the month to and then they were emailing in, am I gonna get money, am I gonna get money? The number of emails that I found in our caseworker's file when I took over, it literally made me cry, because they were desperate sounding emails, and we were gonna tell them no 2 or 3 days before their rent was due. So now we will, if during the interview process we know that it's not gonna be a match for us, we'll point them to another resource, or we'll show them our website and tell them that it would be best if they looked in another place. And to that end, we also will start closing off our applications as soon as we've already met a number. So like that first week in December when I had 20 people, we could have found 4 people that we would want to help there, and then there was no reason to have people filling out the application and sending it in when I knew they were going to be denied. Okay, so then we also have updated our procedures with how the caseworker contacts the rental agencies or mortgage companies, and we have a questionnaire that they can call and make inquiries about their rental history, or have they been receiving help from another agency month after month? Is this a pattern? Are they in a place that's just too expensive for them? So it's important for us to know that, because we want to be able to give our funds to individuals that this is a one-off. It was a temporary thing. It was something that they hadn't expected. And so they need the help to get back on their feet. So then at the end of that process, then the caseworker she makes recommendations to the executive board. And then with the approval of the executive board, she notifies the recipients, notifies people that were not going to be recipients, and again, offers them other resources. And then our anchor, she had to leave, she had another thing to go to for church. But our anchor sends out checks directly to rental agencies or mortgage companies. No funds are ever sent directly to clients. Okay, so why am I telling you all of the nitty-gritty details about our process? Because by inviting Village Resource Center here tonight, you've shown you have a heart for God's people and a desire to understand what the needs of our brothers and sisters in Christ look like, and a willingness to be willing to listen for God's desire in your life. We humbly ask you to join us in the deep end. We would like to have another member of Hope join our board. We need to increase the amount we allocate each month to expand our mission. We want to form a committee of volunteers to investigate and initiate fundraising efforts on behalf of VRC. We need a new caseworker. Someone with experience in social work and case management would be ideal. You surely have your own full plate, but please consider, if you are looking for your own next step, the VRC could use your help. You never know what God has planned to show you. In closing, I'd like to tell you a bit more about what God has shown me through my experiences with Village Resource Center and who we serve. Could we go to the next slide, I think? Okay. This is a funny picture because they asked me to put a slide in showing what we do. And with our confidentiality rules, we certainly could not put a picture of people up here. So these are a couple of volunteers that volunteer with me at the food bank. And we went into our office, this is exactly where I meet with people. It looks like that, except I usually look a little less aggressive when people come in. So anyhow, so they'll come in, we sit down, we talk about their needs. I always start with, tell me what's going on. Because sometimes people just need to tell you what's going on. Okay, so here's the things that I've learned. Number one, personal connection makes a difference. Several months back, I just realized I can't see. I met a single mother of 3, 28 years old, my own daughter's age. What was different for her was she was raised in the foster care system. She didn't have family to rely on when she gave birth to her newest. She worked for an hourly wage and didn't get maternity leave. She lost her job when she wasn't able to secure childcare for her youngest, as she waited for her application for childcare assistance to finally clear from an agency that was woefully behind in processing applications. She fell behind on her rent. She received a notice of demand: pay in 1 month or go to court and face eviction. Pay in 1 month or be homeless with 3 children. She was in a stable home. She lived in low-income housing, and she relied on assistance from the government due to circumstances that were determined for her well before she had this setback. And the overrun system was letting her down. I'll tell you that with our guidance, she found work babysitting for another mother that was in a similar situation. We referred her to a local food bank and resources for clothes for her kids. We connected her with a Good Samaritan who brought Christmas gifts for her kids and household supplies for her. With the money she was able to save in those few weeks while she waited for her own childcare, she was able to pay most of her rent. Village Resource Center was able to fill the gap. Getting to know her situation and her background and meeting her where she was and not questioning why she was there helped us help her move forward. Her home is secure, and she is back to surviving. Second thing I've learned is that life can throw you a curveball you just didn't see coming. Currently, we have an applicant that is a disabled veteran. He's on a fixed income supplied by our military for his injury and service to all of us. In October, there was a glitch in his rental agency's billing system, and he was charged significantly less than his rent was supposed to be. It was on auto pay, and he didn't catch the mistake. It was his curveball. When the mistake was realized, the company added the remainder to his rent in January, just after he had paid for Christmas for his 3 kids. You know, that time of year when you get the credit card company, you're like, did I go crazy last month? He didn't have any money. We advised him to speak with his rental agency, and thankfully, recognizing their part in the issue, they stopped charging the late fees he had been accruing. And then we discussed how he could meet us in the middle to pay his owed past rent. He came with a plan, and it's my hope we'll be able to help him get back to where he was before the curveball. Number 3, people need compassion as much as monetary assistance. At Christmas, a young unmarried woman without children came in to discuss her application for VRC for rent assistance. She had recently started a new job and was in the training portion of her employment. Therefore, she wasn't making as much as she would once she was in the job in full on her own. Her former employer had been hacked and was unable to pay her for 2 months, which is what prompted her to leave the company and find this new job. I'll tell you, she barely got through her story. She explained that her tears were a mix of stress over the situation, feeling overwhelmed with loneliness, and the pent-up fear of having to come in and ask for help. We talked about options for a part-time job, which she got, and found groups for her to join at her local church, which she started attending, and traded emails back and forth just to say hi and check in. She met our qualifications, but she did not receive monetary assistance from us as there were too many clients for us to serve that month. Sweetly, she accepted our denial of funds, happy to know that clients with children have a priority in our selection process. She visited me in January and brought me a Christmas card and introduced me to her puppy. And finally, I'm sure you're glad, the fun in volunteering wears off, but the joy of imitating Christ only gets better. Throughout my kids' high school years, I remember encouraging them to volunteer to help those less fortunate than themselves. I'd ask them after their volunteer shifts, don't you just feel so good helping other people? And doesn't it make you feel so blessed to know that your problems really aren't that bad? What I learned through this process is I was basically teaching them that they could get a hit of dopamine from helping others. But what happens when that high wears off? What about when you don't get one of the good jobs at the food pantry and you have to break down boxes for 4 hours? What happens when a more fun option comes along? The truth is, if we're to imitate Christ, we put the needs of others before our own, which is shockingly undervalued these days. The truth is, getting involved with other people's lives doesn't always feel good. In fact, some of the time it really hurts. The truth is, it can be gut-wrenching, especially knowing that the help you can provide is only a drop in their bucket of needs. But having your heart broken open for the pain of someone else is what reveals our true nature. It makes room for the connection we're meant to have with our brothers and sisters in Christ. It's humbling, and it is life-changing. No other experience has made me so grateful for God's gift of servitude. Of course, He can handle this. All we need to just do is just be willing. Finally, I'd like to thank Mary Jane and Wendy Wall, your Director of Communications, for their patience with my complete inability to do PowerPoint and creating the slides for this evening. I wish you all a blessed Lenten season, and I want to thank you tonight for coming out and let us share Village Resource Center with you. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, and I would love to invite your participation.
So what questions do you have? Here we go.
Where are you located?
So,
And,
yeah.
and where do your clients come from to get to you? Is the housing, it can't be in this area, because I don't know of any low-income housing
Right.
in this area at all.
So I will tell you, not everybody that comes to us is in low-income housing. We have a lot of people, actually I've had some in Lone Tree, I've had some here, and in places that you wouldn't necessarily expect. They just have something happen. Like what if, you know how this is, you're driving along and all of a sudden you get a flat tire and then they take it in and they tell you, oh, you actually need a new tire, and if you get one, you have to get two because they have to match. So all of a sudden you've got a bill, and if you haven't planned ahead for that, or if you don't really make enough money to be planning ahead for that, then you have this problem. And so what we like to do is we let them know we can't pay for your tires, but if you pay for your tires, then we'll send a check to your rental company, and then we'll help out with your rent. Because then that allows us to make sure that we're having direct contact with rental agencies as opposed to individuals. So to answer your other question, since we put our website online, our application online, we had a lot of people from a lot of places around Denver, a little further than we'd like. We really wanted to pull it back to what was initially people coming to the church. I've actually been at our church one time for a meeting and saw someone come asking for help, and the nice thing is now there's a place for the church to send them. So we cover a wide area from the fact that the parishioners of the churches come from a wide area of places. So we don't want to really necessarily limit that, but we do kind of get them from all over. And our location is at the Covenant Cupboard Food Pantry, which is 5400 South Yosemite. So it's just right over here, kind of 2 blocks away. And we meet there on Fridays for our case management hours, like the open hours for people to come in is during that time. And then the rest of the week, it's all done remotely.
What if you don't have electronic means to get in touch with you?
Yes, so we actually have not run across that yet, but we have the churches give us their contact information. If they do not have a way to email me, then I will set up an appointment with them for a Friday. If I just have their phone number, I'll call them, and they can come in on a Friday and fill out their application on paper. It's a great question.
Do you mind sharing how much is your budget?
Yeah, so our budget is $2,400 a month. That's what we give away. We have a very small operating budget. I think we pay for some copies. We pay for...
Yeah, we have $5,000 that one church gives for the caseworker, so that's their support. We pay for a cell phone and a few copies, and that's it.
Yeah, so
so
the
90%, I don't know if it's 90%, but most of the money, except for the one church's contribution for the caseworker, most of the money goes to direct help.
Yeah. So we meet at the Covenant Cupboard at the Village Resource Center that's open during the hours. We meet there. Yeah.
Where do you get this $2,400 from?
That's a great question. Thanks for asking. We get a different amount from different churches depending on their size. Cherry Creek Presbyterian typically gives us about $8,000, and they have a huge community, so they're able to collect more. St. Peter's is, no, not St. Peter, Covenant Cupboard, not Covenant Cupboard, Covenant DTC Presbyterian has about 100 members. They're actually the ones that pay the caseworker $5,000 a year, so they make a huge contribution given their size. And then just according to the other churches, they all give basically what they've budgeted as an ability to contribute.
Okay, so what do you do when someone comes to the church and they want money for gas, or they need money to buy milk for their children?
Okay, so that's a great question. I actually had that happen 1 week while I was there. Someone came to our church and asked for money for gas. And Janae, our sweet person at the front office, she knew I was down at the cupboard right then, so she sent them down that way. And I called her later and I said, we don't normally give out gas money, but I helped her with some resources, and then I did give her a little money for gas. And then she said to me, so did I. So, so I think that we typically in that situation would say we don't do gas money, we don't do emergency assistance. So if there's someone that says to me, I'm being evicted, I actually can't help them. It takes them out of the pool because we don't do emergencies. We do one-offs that we can help you sustain your housing. And then the gas money or a utility bill or your new tires, all of that, if we're able to give them rent assistance, then we might be able to help them. But otherwise, we don't do that service. If they wanted to come looking for some milk, then we would point them to the Covenant Cupboard. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else?
Fine.
What do your volunteers do?
So right now we have the board that we talked about. We started out with 6 clergy members and then 6 lay people. We've kind of got 1 or 2 people that are lay people from each of the churches. So we meet once a month, and on that board we have done a multitude of things in the last couple of months. We used to sit and listen, but now we've been working on our processes. We've been talking about how do we want to move forward? How are we going to grow this? What kind of fundraising can we do? And that type of thing. So we really discuss a lot of stuff, but we do it in about an hour and a half on the second Monday of every month. So that's what the board membership entails. Other volunteers, I had someone come in last week that had volunteered. He's going to start helping me on Fridays. Because we don't have a caseworker currently, he would be able to come in and meet people and get to know them and find out what their story is and that type of thing. So that's what another volunteer does. The thing I'd like to do, I'd like to form a fundraising committee, because and that doesn't have to be someone that's currently working with VRC. That can just be somebody who loves to do that or knows some other individuals that would love to do that. I would love that. So if, by all means, if anyone is interested, please let me know. You can email me at thevrcassistance.com, or you can talk to me tonight. Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned you had 20 applications recently. Can you give us a ballpark of what the total ask is that you get in any month to sort of compare it with the $2,400 you have to spend?
I've had as many as 50. And that month was pretty high. I want to say it was about 45 people came to ask. And of that number, I will tell you, some of them don't qualify for us. They just don't. They wouldn't have gotten money anyway. But I would say I probably, on an average month before our big changeover, on an average month, I probably turned away 25 people.
And dollar-wise, what did they ask for specific amounts, or is that kind of?
They usually do, and one of the things that I've been finding is that when they tell me I'm a month behind on rent, it's usually I'm a month behind and it's $1,650. We give away $600 as our maximum. So we're not fulfilling their entire rent. That's never going to happen. So it's one of the things I talk to them about, and I say, well, tell me about how you're going to come up with the other part of it. Like if I were to give you $600, or depending on the month, maybe I'm going to give you $400, then they start telling me a little more about their story. How can I? So the young girl in December that ended up finding a girl that babysat, that was through a conversation that we had, where she said, well, I do know someone that might need a babysitter because she has the same problem. And I said, great, call her right away, and then call me back, let me know what she says. Sure enough, she started babysitting for her, and she made up to $400 within those 2 weeks. So, did I answer your question? I might have rambled. No, okay.
And John, for more specific numbers, current budget is $25,908 this year. And $19,700 of that goes toward direct support. So just a little over $5,000 is all we do for operating.
Yeah, and really the thing I would love to impress on you tonight is that I see us getting really big. I see us being able to put our application online. I see it, or if we don't, if we want to stick to a little more local, we can do that too. But I think we can absolutely help more people. I think we just have to get this fundraising together. I think we have to start telling the parishes what we're doing and ask them to throw us your spare change, because a lot of spare change can go a long way. Okay.
Any other questions? So, you know Lisa, you know me. If you wish to volunteer for VRC or get involved in any way, please let us know. Either tonight or later on, we would love to connect you and have you be a part of this ministry. Let's show our appreciation to Lisa and Sharon, who's left, one more time.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having us. Thank you.
And we do have an offering, as we've done each of our times. We do have an offering plate as you leave. If you wish to contribute to Village Resource Center, the whole offering will go to them this evening. Yes. Yes, we are. Mm-hmm. Yep, you can also do that.
There is a little bit, one thing that kind of stinks, is that on? One thing that kind of stinks a little bit about the online thing is that they do, in order to do that, they charge us, I think, 1.9% or something per transaction. So there is an option on there, I believe, to round up your donation to 1.9% or whatever so that you can cover that fee. But if not, honestly, we aren't getting any online donations yet, so we'll take it and pay the 1.9. So thank you.
Thank you all. And we look forward to next week. Ready to Work Aurora will be speaking, another wonderful organization to round out our 5-week series. Stay warm, stay safe, friends. We look forward to seeing you again soon. Good night.